We've got some breaking news here at 4:30. A controversial bill has just passed the state house saying citizens and organizations can choose not to recognize same-sex marriage here in the state of Tennessee. For the first time this session, that vote sparking heated debate on the floor. As WSMV4 investigative reporter Stacey Cameron tells us, some fear this opens the door for more discrimination, extending far beyond gay and lesbian couples.
Years ago, in a case called Obergefell versus Hodges, the United States Supreme Court recognized the constitutionality of same-sex marriages and required states like Tennessee to license them. Today's bill, filed by Representative Gino Bolso, a Republican from Brentwood, wouldn't outlaw those marriages. It just says people outside of government here in Tennessee don't have to recognize them as valid without punishment. Bolso's bill also says private people and groups aren't bound by the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which guarantees due process and outlaws discrimination at the state level. Those demonstrating against the law and Democrats, however, worry this law would pave the way for private hospitals, banks, and other businesses to refuse to do business with gay couples. They also fear it would eventually allow private discrimination against biracial couples, immigrants, and others.
Theoretically, you could read that legislation to allow individuals or private organizations to discriminate against someone based on the color of their skin.
Absolutely not. Look at the bill, listen to the debate. It does not open the door to that.
Now, during today's debate, Representative Bolso said he believes there are a host of federal and state laws that prohibit the type of discrimination that Democrats and protesters are worried about. He says his bill only deals with same-sex marriage. The bill now moves over to the Senate, where the Judiciary Committee hasn't yet scheduled a hearing on it. We'll continue to follow this bill as it continues to move forward and let you know what happens. For WSMV4, I'm investigative reporter Stacey Cameron.